So after a week of virtually no basketball for the Bulls, with the exception of the game last night against the Lakers, which was an incredible win to see the Bulls finally back in action, but now we have a full week of Bulls basketball ahead of us, albeit a shorthanded team as of right now anyway, as guys are still in the process of clearing the health and safety protocol. So this upcoming week of games is really going to be a matter of who will be available and back in the roster at that time. However, by the end of the week, the Bulls are expected to have all of their players back in the lineup, with the exception of Patrick Williams, of course. So in today's video, we're going to be previewing the games ahead for this week for the Bulls, expectations, keys to each game, and who to expect to be available for said game. So what's going on, everyone? You were listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. So the Bulls kick off the week with a back-to-back game tonight against the Rockets. Then they have the day off tomorrow and will take on the Raptors on Wednesday. And then they'll actually be off until Sunday, the day after Christmas, where they will face the Pacers, all of which will be at home at the United Center. And again, expectation is that all players who did enter the protocol will be back by that game on Sunday, as long as there aren't any setbacks. So let's start with tonight's game against the Rockets. Now, this Rockets team, who initially looked like they were going to be going down as one of the worst teams in the league at the rate that they were going at after losing 15 games in a row. And then, of course, I'm sure you all remember, they played the Bulls, and the Bulls had their worst loss of the season that enabled the Rockets to snap their 15-game losing streak. And since then, the Rockets went on a 7-game winning streak and are 9-4 since playing the Bulls in that game. So it's hard to really make of what this Rockets team is. That looked like they were going to be tanking for that #1 pick, but in any event, I think they proved last time around, this isn't a team that you can take lightly. They're young, athletic, quick. Yes, they're inexperienced and not an efficient team, and they turn the ball over a lot, so the Bulls really need to take advantage of that fact that they're a more experienced team and a much better defensive team, and they need to capitalize on the Rockets' inability to take care of the ball, score on points off the Rockets' turnovers. Surprisingly, the Rockets don't have a single player in the health and safety protocol, so for the most part, their players are going to be available to play. However, at the time of this recording anyway, both Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green are out of the lineup, who are two of their best scorers and better players. However, if you actually look at the numbers, because both of them are actually very inefficient on offense, the Rockets actually perform better when they're off the court. So both of them being out might actually be an advantage for Houston. Now, the main guy the Bulls really need to be looking out for in this game is Christian Wood. He's by far and away their best player. Vucevic needs to step up in this game and box out the younger Wood to ensure he's not getting easy rebounds, as Wood is one of the best rebounders in the league right now, and he needs to also be hustling out to the perimeter when the Rockets are on offense to guard Christian Wood, as Wood can knock down those outside shots, as it's an area of Vucevic's game that he struggles with, are those outside shooting bigs and staying with them in the paint, but also hustling to the outside to defend threes. Now, for the Bulls, obviously, Zach Lavine, Troy Brown Jr., Dosunmu, Alize Johnson, and Matt Thomas are all likely going to be out for this game. This is really all the guys that came into the protocol at a later time than the initial ones that have already come back, and they'll likely, as I said before, be out until the game after Christmas against the Pacers, with the exception of Matt Thomas, who entered the protocol earlier and should potentially be available for the game against the Raptors on Wednesday. So it'll be interesting to see what the rotations will look like for tonight's game. My guess is it'll be somewhat similar to what we saw in last night's game against the Lakers. I would suspect the same starting lineup of DeRozan, Caruso, Lonzo, Vucevic, Javonte Green, and with DeRozan being available and with Lavine being out, you'd have to think he's going to go off in this game like he did last night, and especially in this game against a younger, more inexperienced Rockets team. Then the Bulls will play the Toronto Raptors on Wednesday. Now, the last time these two teams met in Toronto, the Bulls nearly collapsed in the fourth quarter and almost gave up their first loss of the season to the Raptors. But DeRozan did what he does best, really stepped up in that game in the clutch, and the Bulls were able to secure that win starting off the season 4-0. And just like in that game, Pascal Siakam was not available, which will also be the case on Wednesday. Their center Khem Birch is also expected to be out of the lineup. Again, no players out due to the protocol, at least at the time of this recording. For the Raptors, Fred VanVleet continues to have another great season and has really stepped up as a team leader, and OG Anunoby has been a stand-up for them as well. And of course, You can't forget their rookie standout in Scotty Barnes, who is a Rookie of the Year candidate. So this is a talented young Raptors team that I actually think is better than their record would suggest, especially with Siakam and Anunoby having missed a portion of the season. This is a game in which Lonzo Ball is going to have a tough assignment in guarding Van Fleet and or Gary Trent Jr., who is, by the way, another solid player. We can't forget to mention him. The guy is averaging over 16 points per game. Now, where I see the Bulls taking advantage of in this game is without Siakam and Birch, the Raptors are going to have to go small, which of course the Bulls with their limited size generally do better against smaller lineups. And this is yet another game where Vucevic is going to need to step out not only on offense and getting easy buckets in the paint and posting up smaller guys, but also on the defensive end, making sure he's protecting the paint and not giving the Raptors any second chance opportunities off of missed shots. And then finally, the Bulls will play the Pacers on Sunday. And as I mentioned, all of the players who are currently in the protocol are expected to be in the lineup by then. So as long as no additional players enter the protocol between now and then, the Bulls are going to have a fully healthy lineup. Now, the last time the Bulls faced the Pacers, which was also at home, it was coming off a back-to-back after a long West Coast road trip, and the Bulls got absolutely manhandled in a blowout loss, losing by more than 30 points. And we talked about in this game how the Pacers, despite struggling this season, they simply do not match up well for the Bulls because of their size and slow pace that they also operate with. Miles Turner and Sabonis in the front court, that is a problem for the Bulls. Now, of course, since that game, the Pacers have reportedly made it clear that they intend to initiate a rebuild and have made both Sabonis and Turner available in trade talks, which, of course, a lot of Bulls fans have been discussing quite a bit and going after one of those two players to strengthen our front court, especially when it comes to the rim protection of Miles Turner. But in any event, neither of those guys have been moved, and with both of them being available to play for this game, it's going to make it another challenging matchup for the Bulls and their ability to go small against a team like the Pacers, where you have strong defense and rim protection of Miles Turner and elite offensive game that Domantas Sabonis presents. Now, all of that being said, when the Bulls last met the Pacers, the Bulls were still without Vucevic, who was in the protocol at the time, and with Alex Caruso also being out in that game, Billy Donovan decided to give Kobe White the start, which in my opinion was a huge mistake, playing that small of a lineup against the Pacers. And the tone of that game was set early, with the Pacers taking an early lead and never losing it from there. With Vucevic being back in the game and the emergence of Derrick Jones Jr. showing that he's actually a very capable defender at the power forward spot, assuming that he's healthy and that he's okay. He did have a minor setback in the game last night. We'll have to wait to hear more on that. The lineup and the rotation for the game, I suspect, against the Pacers anyway, will look considerably different, with Vucevic obviously playing, Derrick Jones Jr. getting more minutes at the 4, along with Javonte Green. And I also wouldn't be surprised if you see a lineup in which Vucevic and Bradley play together on the court to match the size of the Pacers. With Derrick Jones Jr. and Javonte getting more minutes at the 4, they'll be able to stay on Sabonis better as it relates to his outside shooting anyway. Sabonis posting up on them is still going to be a challenge though. And then finally, Lonzo Ball needs to do a better job at guarding Malcolm Brogdon than he did in the last game anyway. Brogdon is a really crafty player on offense with not only his ability to score but also play make for others, so Lonzo is going to be tasked with locking him down. Lonzo Ball is normally an incredible defender, but in that game against the Pacers the last time around, he just did not do a great job on Brogdon. Now, I say Lonzo has to do a better job than the last time because really, that was an off night for everyone. No one played well in that game. The energy wasn't there from the start, and it kind of made sense because the Bulls had played so many games in such a short period of time. But this time around, with multiple players getting considerable rest and the fact that they'll have 3 days off between games, the Bulls better come out firing and hungry for a win in this one. So as far as my predictions for this week, really, I think the only game that is going to give the Bulls some trouble is the last game against the Pacers, and for the same issues we ran into the last time they played them. But honestly, with the Bulls most likely being at full strength by that time, I would expect them to win this game after that embarrassing loss last time around against the Pacers. And beating the Rockets and Raptors, both at home, in my view, shouldn't be a problem. Again, this is based on what we know now in terms of who is available for either team. With the rate at which players around the league are entering the health and safety protocol, a lot of this is subject to change. That could even mean certain games getting postponed. For the Bulls part though, let's hope they're now in the clear and we don't have any more guys entering the protocol. But in any event, I think the Bulls will go 3-0 this week, but I want to hear your predictions. How do you think the Bulls will do this week, being shorthanded until towards the end of the week anyway? Let me know in the comments. I'll have a live chat for the game tonight against the Rockets, so feel free to join it if you're interested. In the meantime, as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.